Boy, what a privilege, and I mean a privilege, to meet with each one of you. And I wish every person in every country that's watching this could sit around this table with us and I could interact with you. I'm not giving a talk in this time. I'm going to share my heart as a daddy. And I really wish that you were my son, my daughter, and we could just sit down like I always did with my kids, have a coffee or a Coke or something, and just interact on these subjects. But because of the size and everything else, we can't do that, and with all the equipment. But so just picture it's a dad. My wife says you better say grandfather. I'm probably old enough to be your grandfather. But I'm just going to share my heart as a dad. Now, I don't quite dare to share with you all the way I would my own kids, because I am so frank with my children. I have 3 daughters and a son, and I disagree with most parents, I believe the key to sexual purity and waiting is knowledge, not ignorance. Now, we don't talk about that. It's talking about everything and letting your kids know there's absolutely no question off base. You can ask me anything you want, and as honestly as I can, I will answer it straightforward. But with my kids, I'm always straightforward. For example, my one daughter, Katie, who was 13, we were driving lived up in the mountains out of San Diego, and we had a van. They were sitting in the center seat, her with her friend, Karen, and they were sitting there chatting, and I was driving. I knew something was coming up because they go, pss, 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 and then they look at me and they go, pss, pss, pss. You know something's coming as a dad. And pretty soon we went around a curve, and my daughter jumps up into the front seat, and then her friend sticks her head up in between, and she says, "Dad, I got a question for you. It's no big deal." That's when you know it's a big deal. She said, "Daddy, what's oral sex?" I almost went, I mean, this was 13 years ago in the 8th grade. And I have to admit, it caught me off. So I answered her right straightforward. My daughter goes, "Ugh," and they get back in the back. I got home that night and I told my wife what happened, everything else. And then I broke out into a sweat and I said, "Oh, I could really be in trouble." And Dottie said, "What do you mean?" I said, "What if Karen goes home, her mom's a single mom," said, "How'd the day go?" "Oh, really good. Mr. McDowell talked about oral sex." I'd have the officials at my door. So I called up her mom and I said, "Steph, you know the way we raise our kids, very straightforward." And I said, "This is a question that came up," and I said, "This is how I answered it." And it was a long pause, and I thought, uh-oh, I went too far. And then there was this, "Oh, thank God they asked you." Well, the next day when my daughter came home from school, I was in the kitchen, she came in, she says, "Dad, do you know why I asked you that question?" I have to admit, I really wanted to know, but I didn't want to seem too anxious. I said, "Why?" And she said, "Well, all the kids at school," now this was, about 17 years ago, 8th grade. She said, "Everyone at school is talking about it." And Karen and I didn't know what it meant. So I said, "I'll ask my dad." And this is when they were going back. She said, "Well, you can't ask your dad that." She said, "Yes, I can." "No, I can ask my dad." "No, you can't. I'll prove it to you." And that's when she jumped up and said, "Dad, what's wrong?" Can you imagine if I hadn't answered her straightforward? She never again would have trusted me and brought up some of these issues. And my philosophy is I'd rather have them hear it from me first. I don't care if they hear it from others, but I want, as their daddy, I want them to hear it from me first. So some of the things that we look at, I'm going to be pretty straightforward. And I ask all those that are even listening on audio or video, whatever, if I say something that seems to be really, really poor taste, give me the benefit of the doubt. I do it once in a while. I put my foot in my mouth, but not too often. But give me the benefit of the doubt, because I want to be very straightforward on this subject. And I just wish here we could, everybody who's in China and Ivory Coast and Germany and France and Afghanistan, Tajikistan and Colombia and Argentina, just sitting here interacting with us.